So a lot of people are always scared, like, oh my God, we have to involve IT and it's going to be this really huge project. But we have actually very smart interfacing technologies and have customers that went from kickoff to go live in about 5 to 7 weeks.
Wow.
So we can be fairly quick. Of course, the customer has to do a part as well, but the main hard work is on our side because we have to create the interface.
Sure.
Welcome to Industrial Sage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is Industrial Sage.
Okay, so let's jump into today's episode. I have Pekavi here. I have Johanna Bellenberg, who is the Director of Marketing and Communications. Johanna, thank you so much for joining me today on Industrial Sage.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, we're excited to have you here. So this is you guys are a German company, so you are joining me from Germany this morning. Is that correct?
It's actually the evening in Germany right now, so.
Well, yeah, evening in Germany, morning here, yeah. So that's exciting. We were just talking a bit. It was a little chilly there this morning or this evening over there. So we'll get the time zone thing down. But for those who aren't familiar with Pekavi, just kind of key us in, let us know a little bit about who you guys are and what you do.
Okay, so as you said, we're a German company, and we developed a solution for intralogistics, which incorporates smart glasses. So it's actually called Pick by Vision, or a lot of people might know it by vision picking. So we use the smart glasses to guide the worker visually through the warehouse and bring a lot of benefits with it.
Absolutely. So how long has the company been around for? When did you guys start?
So it was founded in 2013, and since the end of 2015, the product launched on the market, and since then we've been selling and have right now over 70 customers worldwide. And recently, last year in February, we started our Pekavi US Inc. in the States as well.
Great. So could you walk me through a little bit of the background of how and why Pekavi started?
Sure. So our founder was always in the logistics sector. So before Pekavi, he was at a different company that sold pick-to-light solutions. And one day he was like, well, that should be easier somehow. We have so many new products and digitization is rolling in, so there must be something else. So I think he traveled the world or the main countries that are involved in this technology for a couple of weeks. And then he came across the Google Glass and he was like, okay, we are ready. So this was actually how the idea was born, that he combined the benefits of Pick to Light, which is initially the visual guidance, with the flexibility of, for example, Pick by Voice system, and put them into the glasses. Now we have a display to go. And this is how everything started back in the day.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too long ago. So you guys, there's obviously a lot of change, a lot of transformation that's happening, and obviously technology is a huge part of it. We're seeing a lot of movement thanks to a lot of e-commerce. We'll talk, the big, Amazonification, if you will, moving. So it's creating, obviously a bit of a strain on getting things better, faster, cheaper, and really tightening your supply chain. How are you guys differentiated between other service providers or other technologies that are in your space that you're in the Pick to Light or using, Google Glass, these different types of technologies?
Mm-hmm. So what our main focus actually is the human being, the person who has to get the job done. I mean, we all have these high demands. I want it fast, and I want all the information. It has to be all perfect. In the end, somebody in the warehouse has to put that together, and we are actually focusing on that person and how we can support him or her in this crazy dynamic and fast moving world of logistics, to actually keep the complexity of the whole process in the background, and just make it a very nice and easy working experience.
Okay, so could you maybe walk through a little bit, like how do you guys think from a product design, from a development standpoint, on how keeping the worker in mind? How have you kind of reverse engineered, if you will, your products and your solutions?
Mm-hmm. So, I would say that the main interesting point would be that if we look at the natural mechanism of transferring information from the outside world into ourselves, we actually process 80% of the daily information via the optical nerve. So this is one very important fact to keep in mind when we talk about smart glasses, because let me just show you, we have a little display right here. It's comparable to a heads-up display in a car. So you have all the information you need at any minute, any second, right at the edge of your field of view. So compared to other systems, like let's talk about a pick by voice system, where somebody is constantly talking to you for 9 hours straight. There are studies that, the productivity in the first 2 hours is just great, but after that, it just decreases. And we're trying to figure out how to use actually this natural mechanism and leverage it for, productivity, for error reduction, and also quality, which are, as essentially the main points in a logistics operation. So we kind of like have a display to go, which lets me be very flexible in my movements, without having to concentrate on a voice constantly or have to do a movement when I have an arm terminal. So it's very focused also on my ergonomics.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really interesting. So you said, I think the stat was somewhere around 80%. You said is ocular, or through our eyes, or basically consuming information that way. So does it work in the sense you said it's got like a heads-up display so is it picking up, or you're able to kind of scan the different products, or it's picking up and just from almost like from a augmented reality type thing where you say, hey, the product that we need to get is over there, and you're able to look around and it's able to help to identify that, versus a pick to light where you've got to have lights all over the place and that area actually lights up. Is that more or less how it works?
More or less. So when we talk about pick by vision or vision picking, we talk about assisted reality, which is comparable to a heads-up display in a car. So it gives you additional information you need to fulfill a task, other than virtual reality where you're completely cut off, or augmented reality where the computer-generated reality melts with your real reality. So we are essentially giving additional information, but the two realities make sense without each other, so they're not melted. What we do is actually we don't see that we really need real augmented reality in a warehouse, because the human being, the worker, still wants to, work a little bit themselves and doesn't want, be handed to every task they have to do. And we are, concentrating a lot of on pictures and icons. We always say they're kind of like the universal language. We have customers that actually have like 30 different nations in the warehouse. So language is always a big topic, but we are trying to, solve every issue and, provide the best solution we can.
Interesting. So as far as a rollout period, so I think we're talking about how we were able to integrate this with an ERP or WMS. What does that look like? Just from obviously, I know that's kind of I'm sure the answer could be, depending on the number of SKUs and everything, can vastly vary. But just from a just an integration, standpoint, what does that look like?
Okay. So a lot of people are always scared, like, oh my God, we have to involve IT and it's going to be a huge project. But we have actually very smart interfacing technologies and have customers that went from kickoff to go live in about 5 to 7 weeks.
Wow.
So we can be fairly quick. Of course, the customer has to do a part as well, but the main hard work is on our side because we have to create the interface
Sure.
to the system.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a pretty cool technology. What are the different ranges? And you've got some products and some things behind you. Is it all just Google Glass, or do you have a wider range of products and solutions?
Of course, we test all the smart glasses that are on the market. But as I said in the beginning, we have a strong focus on the human being and also the ergonomics. And Google Glass, as of today, is still the most ergonomic device that is out there. We will be happy if there are other wearables, smart glasses coming out, but we also always look on the ergonomics of the product.
Okay. I have a really just simple question, and I was curious about this. Obviously, you wear glasses. How does it work with somebody that is, in the environment there that already wears glasses for just to see normally? How does that work?
Well, they just have to work blind.
Okay. All right. That works.
I'm just kidding. Of course, we have solutions for all kinds of scenarios. If people wear prescription lenses or have to wear safety lenses, for example. So I can just try to show it. We have a little button right here, and we just I have to turn it around. We disconnect the smart part of the smart glasses, and then there is an additional frame that has the same connection. And then we just clip it onto there and put the individual prescription in there, and they're good to go.
Perfect. So it's very, very easy to adapt. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So, obviously there's a lot going on in the industry, and there's a rapid change as we've talked about. You guys are addressing that. Certainly looking at it from the perspective of the worker and the workforce. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing in the industry, particularly as we roll out in 2020, from your standpoint?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's all sorts of different challenges. For example, in Europe, we are a little ahead of the States.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, we actually have already the rollout scenarios where people have like 80 to, 150 glasses in the warehouse. We are experiencing this with the US as well, but only with a small number of customers. So there's a lot of customers that are still looking in other technologies. But of course, the whole topic of digitization, where is it leading, is a big challenge. And then the topics or buzzwords that come with it, like IT security, or in Germany, for example, we have very strong unions. So they're always part of the discussion. Of course, we have a lot of material for all the concerns. But I think a worldwide challenge that we can help solve is actually the lack of skilled workers. Mm-hmm. So we have customers, in particular one I just visited a couple of months ago, and he actually has people that are in retirement coming back working with the smart glasses because he needs more skilled workers, but today they're very hard to find. So he brings them back to solve the problem, but they're actually working with the smart glasses as well. And what we see is that we can, help solve the problem because the product is so easy to work with, that we only have like training times from 15 to 30 minutes, and that the workers are ready to go. And also, a very big challenge is the buzzword big data. Um, we have a lot of sensors in the smart glasses as well, because essentially it is a computer. But gathering all the data doesn't help us if we don't understand it. So we just developed a solution. It's called the Picavi Cockpit, that makes big data into smart data. So it has different features, for example, analytics, which helps me understand where more potential in my warehouse could be, or how the Wi-Fi might be an issue for my productiveness. So there is a lot of products we are developing to address all those challenges in today's and tomorrow's world, actually.
Oh, it's fantastic. So that sounds like a great solution to be able to optimize and just kind of figure out best practices and some better efficiencies. One last question that I've got is just from, you mentioned earlier on that obviously the U.S. is a little slow to adopt some of these technologies, whereas Europe is is a lot more advanced. From an adoption standpoint in Europe, kind of blanket statement, what would you say that is, just in terms of the average, warehousing fulfillment? Like, what percentage rate do you think that they are using this technology relative to where they could be?
That's a tough question.
Sorry.
I would say in 2020 we will see a very fast development in actually rolling out the technology even more. We have customers that have rolled out the technology over multiple locations, not only one warehouse. But of course, in every scenario, they can do more. So for 2020, we are hoping that the technology will become a standard. We have actually customers like DB Schenker, which is a very big 3PL, and they have the goal to set Pick by Vision as the new standard in picking. So we are very thrilled to see that development. But the US is not as far behind as you might think. So we have actually a very big customer too, that just ordered another 80 glasses. So they will be, I think, the biggest warehouse in the world using Pick by Vision.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So I'm just trying to get a sense of what the landscape looks like, just in terms of in Europe, but obviously relative to the U.S. Just over the next 5 years, are you seeing that the adoption is going to be we're going to be seeing this all over the place, and it's going to be the standard industry, or it's standard versus, hey, this is a nice to have.
No, I would say it will become a standard, because we have seen so many great success stories with the product, and I'm not saying that because I'm in marketing. But we actually have customers, that share their numbers with us, and we are thrilled that the technology is being accepted as well as it is, and maybe the US might even overtake Europe this year, because the mentality is very different. So Germany is always like, okay, let's try this, and once it's good, we will see if we roll it out. But in the US, they tested a number of glasses for like 2 months, and they were like, okay, let's do this, and let's do this overall. So yeah, the US is faster in actually rolling out. But yeah, I would say this year is going to be great for all of us.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds super exciting. I loved hearing about the technology and the solutions. How you go really thinking about the worker, and the ergonomics and just the designing. Obviously, the big data piece was very cool. The rollout, and how you guys are providing more value than just around that physical product. So So I really appreciate the time that you spent with us here on Industrial Sage. If anybody would like to learn more about your products, I'm assuming go to your website. Is there anything particular? Is it Picavi.com? What's the address?
It's picavi.com.
Perfect.
And yeah, pretty easy. But you also have a chance to check out the product at Modex. We'll be there in March. You can work around our little warehouse and see yourself.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Johanna, thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, great episode. Listen, I loved really. This is super exciting. I remember when Google Glass came out several years ago, and it was like the thing, and then it kind of went away, and now you're seeing it come back with all these different applications. And like Johanna was talking about, this could really be the breakout year in 2020. And I thought it was interesting that she was saying that it's possible that the U.S. could actually outpace and outgrow Europe as far as adoption. So definitely something to look out for from a technology standpoint. Be sure to be, if it's not something that if you guys like to learn more about it, you can go, check it out. Go to picavi.com, and we'll have information and links in the show notes where you can check it out a little bit further. So thank you for watching this episode of Industrial Sage. We'll be back next week with another episode here at Industrial Sage. I'm Danny, and I'm signing off.